Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. In this episode of your favourite marketing show, my old mate Griffo and I go deep on how you can make your customers feel good about you and your business. Let's do this.
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I am your host, Timbo Reid. But you, so much more importantly, are a motivated small business owner ready to crank out some great marketing. And that is exactly why this show exists. Now, speaking of shows, big show today, always a big show, but this, you are about to be part of another episode of Funny Business, in which my old mate Griffo and I get together. We talk funny business, and today we are going to get all touchy-feely. But don't worry, we are simply going to introduce you to another way of doing business effectively. A little bit more on that very shortly. A big, big thank you to our two sponsors, Net Registry, who get your online marketing sorted, and our good friends at 99 Designs, who offer fast, affordable designs for small business. A little bit more on them later. Big thank you to you guys, though. The last two episodes of the Small Business Big Marketing Show have really gotten what I would call traction. Really appreciated the amount of people that are hitting me up on Twitter and my guests who are getting pummeled by tweets saying how much their marketing gold that they shared was appreciated. Tina Tower, in particular, from Begin Bright, who is Telstra Businesswoman of the Year 2014. She shared some gold. She's been hit up on Twitter by people from all over the world. She's loving it. Ashley Wilson from Shiploads down in Tassie, he was last week's episode. He's not on Twitter, but he's also got, or received, I should say, some great feedback. This is the thing I love about podcasting. You know, as much as I'm talking down a mic and there's no one there right now, I know you do listen at some point, and it is a two-way street. So feel free to leave a comment on the show notes or on the iTunes, on my listing on iTunes, or hit me up on Twitter over at Timbo Reid. That's R-E-I-D, because I do love hearing from you, what you liked, what you didn't like, what we could do better. I love all that. So, thank you for all you guys who left some wonderful feedback. Now, I am about to leave the relative comfort of my home studio and head out in to the small business jungle, where my old mate Griffo, a.k.a. Andrew Griffiths, Australia's leading small business author, is hanging very seductively from a tree, munching on what looks like a bag of lolly bananas. Griffo, is that you?
It is me, and I'm in my leopard-spotted Speedos. Just
So
to help
wrong.
paint that picture.
So wrong. Yeah. And overseas listeners, there's already two things they're not going to get. What are lolly
Very
bananas and what are Speedos? Also known as budgie smugglers, aren't they?
Budgie smugglers, which doesn't do anything at all to help solve any confusion around what I'm actually wearing.
No.
But Australians will be chuckling away at that horrible visual image that no amount of psychotherapy will ever remove.
Think of Speedos. Think of Borat in his Mankini all those years ago on that wonderful film.
Yeah.
You know
Okay. So my Speedos are less flattering than Borat's Mankini. You know, that's the way to do it. How are you, mate? We haven't spoken for a long time.
It's been a while, mate. Good couple of months, which is it's too long, but I'm really good. You know, things are rocking. I've been doing a little thing on this show, Griffo, called a check-in, which I've just done for about the last 3 or 4 episodes, where I just pause and check in with how everyone's going. It's an opportunity for me to kind of share and reflect on what's going on in my business week.
Beautiful.
And
So,
just asking.
what's going on?
Well, I don't want to bore the... Well, I will bore the listeners because that's what the check-in is about. But I've had a good week, mate. As my listeners know, I've been on a retreat with some other fellow speakers about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and just just continue to implement the learnings from that. You know, you and I did an episode on taking action a few weeks ago, and I tell you what,
Absolutely.
you know, we can all take notes till we're blue in the face. And I know a lot of people listen to this show and take notes and listen to it a second or a third time and, you know, give them time to kind of really articulate for themselves what they're learning. But if you don't take action, all words, mate.
Well, you know, it's funny. I wrote that in one of my books, The Me Myth. There's a chapter in there where I say every once in a while you got to put down the personal development books. You got to put down and live. You know, you're got to get out of the book and actually start to go and experience stuff and do stuff and trial stuff. I think it's action is a big part of it, isn't it?
There is you get a rush from an idea, and I know, like, you know, when I listen to podcasts, I know there'll be people listening to this show who, you know, will drop an idea along the way, and you get that rush of like, oh yeah, I could do that, I could see myself implementing that. But again, you know, you've really got to take control and say, righto, well, I'm actually, even if you were to hit stop, you know, the minute you hear an idea that's worth implementing, hit stop and go and actually start to action it. Come back again and hit play, you know, because like we'll still be here. You well,
forever,
mate? Forever. Yeah, you well?
Yeah, no, I'm fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. I'm feeling good, feeling positive. Lots of great stuff going on. You know, time to write more books and to do new stuff. And one of my things this year is I'm really going to plan a little bit more time off. It's one of my little bit of actionables. So you're
going to have 11 months off this year.
So, yeah, you know, I thought, 10 months just wasn't enough last year.
Enough.
It was too much of a grueling. Those 2 months that I had to really work, it was just too much.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pace it out and have like every couple of months have a week off and just kind of do that kind of schedule a little bit. That's the theory. I don't know whether it'll work that way, but we'll start that out. I've planned a few little things around it. So
yeah, good idea, mate. I tell you what, we will do a whole episode on this of just switching off. We've spoken about it previously, but it is important. I'm a cretin at it, mate. I find it hard, and like so many small business owners, to really, truly, honestly switch off, where you don't have something going on in the background.
I couldn't agree more. That whole multitasking myth, that's an episode in its own right too. But that whole concept of overwhelm, because our to-do list is getting longer and longer, and we're feeling everything we're listening to results in us needing to do something. And we're all looking for answers and we're all looking for action and we're all trying to, get more stuff done and all that kind of jazz. And I just kind of wonder, where's this going to be in 10 years? At some stage, there's got to be a bit of a backlash where we just go, enough. There's too much stuff coming in and I'm not getting anything done except getting overwhelmed by new information. And I guess there's got to be some kind of balance in there that we'll reach as human beings in one shape or form. I don't know how it'll look, but we'll reach it.
Well, I don't know. I'm reading a book at the moment called Sapiens, which is a brief history of humankind. Really interesting book, and actually not as academic as it sounds. But I just wonder, I got this theory that technology is so far ahead, and I'm just talking about basic technology like let's Google or, smartphones and social media that allow us to consume so much so quickly and instantly that our little brains, our little bodies just aren't keeping up. And it's got to come to, I don't know what the point is where it's all going to implode. I don't mean that negatively, but, I think there's a lot of anxiety within many of us around just the ability to keep up, the old information overload, the old lack of time, the old overwhelm. It's like, it saddens me, that whole thing.
Well, I don't know. I kind of do believe that we'll reach a medium, but I think some of the stuff we've got to rethink. And I just wrote an article about this. Is for me, it's often feels like there's more and more I've got to do, and I'm beating myself up because I'm not doing it. So I feel like my to-do list gets longer and longer, and there's more and more stuff. So you self-flagellate because I haven't done enough. And I think we've got to reprogram that kind of stuff. So I wrote this article saying, rethink how you end your day, acknowledge what you've achieved, all that kind of stuff, as opposed to the self-flagellation session of I didn't get enough done. Just say, well, this is what I did. This is the difference I made today. Kind of try and close your day a little bit better and use that as a wrapping up of the day. That's when you disconnect. That's when you turn it off, and that's the thing. And I thought, well, people are going to go, yeah, that's lovely, Andrew. That's all kumbaya. That's, let's all hug. But I just, as we were saying a little bit before, I've had just 1,000 1,000 shares on this article in the last few hours. Mm-hmm. It's just extraordinary. So those kind of things indicate to me a lot of people feel the same way. There's a lot of challenge around it. So either way, I guess we've got to come up with different ways of doing it. I'm not necessarily saying better ways, but different ways.
Griffo, self-flagellation, not a term I've used, I don't think ever. Also known as beating oneself.
Yes.
The vision I've got is there was a character in the Da Vinci Code, the blonde-headed monk. Was he into self-flagellation of more of a physical nature?
Yes, the whipping yourself and all that stuff. Maybe I've mispronounced it right. It
I don't know.
Sounds kind of a strong term. I'm sure that someone will tell us if I have, but I'm pretty sure it's right. Yeah,
I do love it.
Beating yourself up, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're doing more and more of these days is beating ourselves up because we haven't done enough, or we feel, I should have been doing this and I should have, and I'm not doing that enough, and now I'm not spending enough time with doing this, and we're just down on ourselves. I kind of think, man, lighten up. We're doing the best we can. Let's just friggin' get on with it and maybe acknowledge what we're doing instead of what we're not doing.
Lighten up. What beautiful, beautiful advice. We do. We need to. Gee, if we can get serious,
It's only life, mate. We'll get another run.
Well, there you go. That's the Buddhist in you. But that's like, it is so true. It really is. Lighten up when you are feeling under the pump, when you think, you know what, this is just all getting way too hard. Just take a step back and take a few breaths and have a giggle. Go and find something that makes you laugh.
Do you know something that really changed? Something changed for me a number of years ago. I remember I had to do this project for this company, and it was urgent. I got the phone call 3:00 on a Friday.
Everything's urgent.
And they needed it by Wednesday. Like, they needed a marketing plan, urgent. Anyway, so I've gone, right, and it was a really big project, and I went, okay, well, it's going to, I'm going to have to work, like overnight for 2 nights, and okay, we'll do it, rah. We'll pay your quote and all the rest of it. Anyway, I literally did work for 4 days straight to get this report done, almost killed me, rang the lady's office from this company to say, okay, can I come and present this freaking thing now? Can I come and present this work that I've done? And I said, no, she went on holidays on Monday.
Great.
And I said, was it an emergency? No, this has been planned for months. And I've got, are you kidding me? I hadn't slept for 4 days, to get this. It didn't really matter. And I kind of thought long and hard about it then, and I say to people, okay, what's the deadline? What's the real deadline? You give me the 2 deadlines, or sometimes things just don't matter, but it's what we do inside of ourselves to try and, it's always this internal battle that for me is going I look at my to-do list today and go, well, okay, if I don't do that stuff, does it really matter? Then I'm going to lose their birthday if I don't do that. And there are times where I just love nothing better than saying, you know what, it's 12 o'clock. I'm not going to do anything else today. I'm going to call it a day. And, I've got a million things to do like everyone else, but there's something so wonderfully liberating as a business owner to be able to do that. And,
and that is one of the upsides of small business, although I know there's a lot of small business owners listening who are locked into being, you got to be in a shop, you got to be somewhere for a certain amount of time, because that's the nature of what you do. But, yeah.
It's only taken me 30 years to get to this spot, I might add.
An overnight success.
So overnight success of being able to do that. And I've got to pay for it at some stage. I still got to do the work that I need to do. I still got to get back to people. But I like that ability to say, you know what, I kind of feel a bit flat today. I think I'm just going to reschedule the day to suit me a little bit. And I kind of, however we can do that stuff, maybe it's the jobs you like doing. I think this is the crux of it, mate. We've got to look at how we do what we do differently, do it better.
Now, Griffo, I did say at the introduction, as I was wandering into the jungle, that you are kind of a part of, that we are a part of, that this was going to be a touchy-feely show, not knowing that we were going to have this discussion up front. It's been a little bit touchy-feely, a little bit emotional, but now is the time for us to actually launch into today's topic, which is touchy-feely. And when you and I were planning this show, you want to know, what are we going to chat about on this episode of Funny Business? I said, listen, there's a quote. There's a quote that's come into my life a couple of times in the last couple of months, and it's really sat very comfortably with me, and I love it. And I thought, why don't we pull it apart and put it back together? Yep. I've sent you the quote. You've gone, OMG, hashtag OMG being the hipster that you are, and you've said, Timbo, that's one of my favourite quotes. So listeners, Griffo and I are going to pull apart and put back together this beautiful quote from Maya Angelou. Angelo. I don't
Maya
know.
Angelou.
We'll go with Angelo. And
Angelo.
it goes like this. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And many of your listeners are going to wonder if we're going back to the 70s here, if this is a bit of a love-in. But I got to say, this to me, that how you make people feel is such a wonderful, wonderful adage for doing business, for building relationships, for living a life. Surely, we want to do more of that. That whole concept of people do forget the stuff that you do, but they do remember how you made them feel. I think I see that as a speaker. You know what I mean? There's so many times that people go, when you're trying to define yourself as a speaker, what do you do? And, you go through that insecurity stage. Oh, am I any good? What do you like about my presentation? What don't you like, or whatever it is? And I always remember the most powerful kind of messages for me were always the ones that you made me feel. When someone starts like that, oh, how did you like my presentation? You made me feel that I could do this. You made me feel positive and enthusiastic and excited about the future. I don't think anyone ever says, oh, yes, your slide 13 on, the dichotomy of profit and losses on, mortgage broking services in the Alaskan circle was incredible. It's always about the feeling element. And that's my personality, though, I must say as well.
I think we get too caught up in the rational. As business owners, and I'm
Totally.
Representing the marketing aspect of that, is that we can get so caught up in the rational. And it could be as simple as, the size of a proposal, the amount of pages of a proposal that you're about to submit, or the word count on a blog post you've written. And it's like, oh, it's got to be lots of words, because the more words, it's the more important. And these are I'm being simplistic about it, but you can extrapolate that into the bigger parts of the way you go about business. And focus, the rational's important, but we're emotional creatures. But, we are emotional creatures, and that's
Craving
why... Craving connection, belonging, these basic needs. And that's how you are going to help people feel positively predisposed towards you. Griff, I talk a lot about branding on this show and inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, and my favourite definition of brand, it's an emotional attachment.
And I think for many years there's this kind of concept that there's no room for feelings and emotion in business, particularly in small business. And you kind of go, it is the only thing that there's room for, in my view, is how you make people feel, whether it's your customers, your staff, your community, whatever it might be. And I don't quite know why we felt that these things had to be separated, why it had to be, you'd have two different areas when the two go so wonderfully hand in hand. And I think it's interesting that often when you start to talk about this, I have these conversations often with people because I am that kind of person. I'm a touchy-feely, emotive kind of person as well. As much as most of you would think that I'm a rugged individual, I'm really not.
No, you're a man of
People can see
many
through the
hugs.
facade. I'm a man of many hugs. And that's a good point. But I look at it and turn around and go, more and more, I think we're getting back to this, and we want to talk about, more about feelings, and not just about personal feelings, but we're trying to understand our customers a lot better. Everyone wants that connection. And I think what I'm seeing a lot more of are ways that we can have more of that feeling side of things when we're doing business. I do one little thing. I review, as you know, I help people write books. So as part of a program that I run, and I review book pictures and synopsis, which is kind of like an overview of the book. Now, I used to write these long reports about these things, sit at my freaking computer and, write this 500,000 word kind of feedback. Hated it because it took me forever, and my little stumpy fingers, were kind of down to my elbows. And I said, you know what, this takes me forever. You know what, I'm going to record the feedback. So I'd read their pitch and synopsis, and I'd record it whilst I'm reviewing it. And I'd be able to have a conversation like this. And I actually did it to save me time. Yep. That's what I did it for. But then people got this MP3 file sent out to them, and the feedback from that was extraordinary. People said to me, you know what, that recording was fantastic. I really felt like you were talking to me. You really explain, and people say, oh, I listen to it all the time. I go back and listen to it when I'm writing my book, and overwhelmingly the response is amazing. So I started recording messages for people. I started even recording like reports for people. I have clients of mine, coaching clients even, that I'll record stuff and send them an MP3 file. And again, the reason they love it is because of the feeling that I can give. How do I put that excitement into a written thing, apart from 25 exclamation marks? Irritating.
And listeners, if you want to know how to do that, it's not as hard as you think. I don't know what you use, Griffo, but I use a thing called Extra Voice Recorder, which allows you to literally record something on your screen and drag it into an email. Literally, that's simple.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just use some little MP3 app that I just record and it just saves it as an MP3 on the desktop. But there's so many wonderful applications to do it. When I also use that kind of thing are the awkward emails. When you kind of got to have a message with someone, you can't get them on the phone or whatever, but it's an awkward one. Mm-hmm. And there's so much stuff that can get misinterpreted in the awkward emails. Mm. Whereas if I record it MP3, you can describe it. It can be more of the emotion and feeling, and there's no room for error or misinterpretation of the message. I get extraordinary feedback.
Auto spell correct, actually getting in your way.
Absolutely. And again, to reinforce how important these kind of things are, I wrote an article for Inc. on this. 5,500 shares, several 100,000 page views on this one concept of how to engage better by this connection, and I look at that. I wrote it as a productivity piece, but it was actually the connection part that people are relating to. And I think this comes back to that point about, people will never forget how you made them feel.
Well, listeners, we are reflecting on a wonderful quote. I'm just going to repeat it. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that was Maya Angelou. Griffo, again, bring it back to marketing. By the way, Maya Angelou, it sounds terrible to bring it back to marketing, because if one reads her bio, her brief bio, it is she's an American author, poet, dancer, actress and singer. She's published 7 autobiographies, 3 books of essays and several books of poetry, and the list goes on. Passed away in 2014 at a ripe old age. So she knows what she's talking about, and I love the fact that it's a quote coming from someone who's in theatre and drama. But you know what? That's what great marketing is. It's theatre, it's drama, it's entertaining, it's engaging.
It's scary.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Oh, well, in terms of sometimes you've got to be scared by the message.
You've got to be scared to put the message out there.
Exactly, both, all of it.
Oh, gosh, how often do I see a marketing message where I think, gosh, why didn't they have the courage to be a little bit more emotional, to inject a little bit more of their personality into the way they're getting it across? I'll give you an example of the masters of this. This is a small business, big marketing show, and sometimes, only sometimes, Griffo, we can learn from the big guys. I'm going to talk about Apple. I've just bought an iPad Air 2. Beautiful, beautiful piece of technology. If you look at those ads, now that technology, that could send a man to the moon. What's in that processor and whatever else it does, and what it's made from is incredible. But Apple don't go on about any of that. You can look up the specs, the RAM, the storage, the memory,
none of it matters.
None of it matters. You look at the ad for the iPad Air 2, and it is 110% emotion.
It's verging on pornography.
Look, if
pornography,
if that's what it does for you, then I'm glad you're up and about. But really, I'm now lost.
But you're right though with the Apple side of things. I read, was it even you and I were talking about? Someone was talking about the whole paccaging experience.
Don't get
how
me
does
started.
It feel? I know. So you're
packaging pornography.
I'm watching Tim, and you can see that things are going on there, blood's flowing. And the unpacking an iPhone or unpacking your laptop or unpacking, those kind of things. That in itself is an experience. How do you feel when you pull your iPhone out of the box type thing and you look at it? I mean, I just bought the iPhone 6, which I need a backpack to strap it on and carry it around, but I still love it. Yeah. But the earphones come in this beautiful little white, little thing, which I cherish now. And I almost like the little earphone case more than the phone.
Yeah, you are a very, very simple man, Griffo. And that's interesting, having this conversation with a fellow marketer, because it's sort of embarrassing when you talk about that, but it's stuff that people often think but would never admit, like and they might not even, they subconsciously go, oh, I like the packaging those earpods came in, but they would never tell someone else that. But again, that's what they felt, and this is just so important, listeners, to get your head around. And we're going to finish, by the way, and Griffo, remind me if I forget, because I can forget sometimes, but we will finish this discussion with a question. We'll pose a question to listeners so that they can go off and figure out how they can inject a greater sense of feeling and emotion into their marketing and their business, because it's a topic, the more I get into this, the more passionate I am about it, because I want people to understand the power of emotional marketing. Let's talk about words. You're a man of many words. You love writing. You've got 11 books under your belt. Is it 11?
12.
12? Sorry, mate. Sorry,
But who's counting,
I'm not exactly right. And there's a lot of words there, and the power of the word, both written and spoken, can again create feeling.
And it's interesting for me. I'm a couple of things that I would say there. The first thing, before I get into the writing side of it, you mentioned a word earlier on, which is courage. And I think that's one of the biggest words that needs to be used more in marketing, particularly with small businesses. You've got to have the courage to do stuff that's different, to have a different message, to be brave, to have fun with your marketing, to push the boundaries a little bit. But what the vast majority of marketing, even from corporations, is really very pedestrian, very mainstream, and very safe. And the problem is that doesn't work in this environment. The world is a different place. Safe marketing, I believe, doesn't work anymore. You've got to be pushing the boundaries a little bit. It doesn't mean you need to be, crude or whatever. It just means you've got to be prepared to try things differently, have more fun with it, be a little bit more, the stronger messages, understanding every element that we have there. But when it comes to, how you make people feel, I'm constantly amazed, whether it's in my books or in articles that I write, about which ones give you feedback. And I'm going to turn around and say that, again, writing for ink, to mention that one, it's my main writing job these days. The articles that people resonate with, the most popular articles that get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of page views and shares, are the feeling articles, not the how to increase your P&L. It's about how to have a happier life, how to be more. Now, this is an entrepreneurial side, 18 million visitors a month, all that kind of jazz. It is all about the feeling. They're the articles that get read, which again emphasize to me that that's what the strongest desire is for people. They're looking to feel something. So you're writing those articles accordingly. And there's lots of great ways that you can do that. I think in your writing of your material, for starters, forget writing in the third person. Don't talk about your business like you're someone from the outside. Use the I, first and second, I, we, me. We stand for this. We care about this. We believe in this. Look at them all. Just
on that, geez, you're on a roll then, mate. I tell you what,
I
was looking for an in. Just on that. And I've done a little bit of reading around what makes great copy. There's so much out there, it can be quite overwhelming, but it's like the use of emotional words in copy is incredibly powerful, isn't it? So when you are writing copy, it might be a sales letter, it might be a slide deck, it might be a presentation. Just thinking about emotional words that you can use. Do you want to give an example of that? I'm putting you on the spot, but an example of...
But there are strong words, love and hate. Are two very, very powerful words.
Yep.
If you're like us, you hate waiting around on the end of a line. You hate being put on hold for 45 minutes. So we've decided that the last thing we want you to do is hate. So we want you to love us. So by doing that, we've employed another 20 call center staff. That's how a large company. And we're starting to see the corporations use those strongly emotive words that they would never use before because they're too strong. And I think that's exactly it in small business, that we've got to be turning around and saying, well, we've got to use a bigger vocabulary of more powerful words. I use love and hate, but they're the emotive kind of words. They're the feeling words, that of course, that how does it make us feel? I feel angry, I feel tired, I feel scared, I feel anything that a word like scared is a powerful word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what we're actually doing is we're being much more honest in our writing and how we describe our businesses.
Well, we're writing how we speak. There's another example, again, taking this to an idea that you could implement, listeners, in your business, making people feel what you've got to offer versus trying to have them understand. When I was the marketing manager at Flight Centre, we would package products up so that people could see themselves buying a particular travel package, right? So this is packaging such a powerful way to make people feel what you've got to offer. So I could have done one of two things. Scenario one, I could have offered a return airfare to Bali with 10 nights accommodation in a 4-star or 5-star hotel, 10 massages, 3 spa treatments, and a fresh juice every morning, right? They're the features of a particular package. I could then turn that package into the Bali Pamper Pack, like literally just same package, just give it a name, and all of a sudden this is a true case study. That package just went off the shelf. Like we couldn't get enough Bali Pamper Packs, and then we created the Bali Adventure Pack, and then the Bali Family Pack, and then the Bali Romance Pack, because you only have to say, I only have to say to you, Bali Romance Pack, it's pretty obvious what's going to be in it. It's going to be a nice place to stay in Bali, romantic place, candlelit dinners, all that type of stuff. And it just changes the way people look at it. McDonald's have been doing it for years with Happy Meal. That's just a burger and fries and a Coke and a toy.
Absolutely. Another great example, though, the food one, going to a cafe these days, a great cafe or an organic kind of food place, something like that, and read the descriptions of the food on the menus. Read, you pick up a jar and, you get the life history of the berries and the farm in his latest blood test, his family genetic pool and all that. But they're wonderfully written. Now, they only do that because we love it. We're feeling an emotional connection to our food. I want to know where my food comes from. I want to know where these apples come from. And I think we have to, it's part of storytelling. It's part of, we want to feel. I don't want to just buy this nameless kind of piece of jam, for example, as opposed to buying, some jam which, has been grown by Bill Smith, who's a farmer who lives in the, near Orange or, I don't know, somewhere in, near wherever they grow these things. And he's been a farmer there for 30 years, and his father before him was a farmer. Yep. And they pride themselves in growing we pride ourselves in growing the best apples or berries or whatever it might be.
So, there are so many ways you can get people to feel strongly and positively about your business. We've covered a few, Griffo. There's the customer service, your approach to customer service, simple things like asking your staff to look customers in the eye. I had an experience this morning. I actively look for eye contact when I speak to people.
Me too.
And I even practice that when I go and buy something just to see whether I'm going to get it. And this morning, I went to a boot camp this morning, mate. Bit of a, I'm back at gym. The old arm's a bit sore, but I thought, you know what? I'll start going to boot camp, and I did. And I roll up first day. The guy didn't eyeball me. Really? the lead instructor was like, I just wanted a bit of acknowledgement. He said g'day, but it's a simple thing. Again, makes you feel as though you belong. Going back to that basic human need of belonging.
Contact's not that hard, but what is it? It's such a rarity these days in the retail environment, isn't it? That someone can actually look you in the eye.
And they're under the pump, and that's one of their points of difference. They can look you in the eye.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great opportunity. A little look in the eye and a little smile. So that's, really, and you'll wait there for half an hour because you've been looked at, you've been, like you're okay with it when that contact is there.
Yep.
I've got another example. Are you still going?
Mate, I'm all yours.
Shall I go get a cup of tea and come back? Or I'm normally the one that talks too long.
You're on a roll. Go for it.
I got a really great example about this, how you make people feel. Quite a few years ago now, I worked with this little lawn mowing and gardening kind of business. It was a husband and wife team. They would wander around and they would mow lawns and do really lovely people. Did a great job. But they had a real problem, and their problem was that they weren't getting paid for 90 days. And they just couldn't get the money in. And they kind of go, and so they would kind of write, say to people, oh, you're happy with what we're doing and all the rest of it. And people go, yeah, you do a fantastic job, rah, rah, but no one will pay within 90 days. And they approached me about this and said, what do we do? And I said to them, the problem is, people come home, the garden looks nice, that's a connection, but they don't actually have a connection with you because they don't actually see you. They don't, there's none of that. So I said, let's do something different. When you send out your invoices next time, we're going to do another page. So the cover page, you're going to put a cover page on your invoice. This was before email. So I got them to do a photo, and we got the mum, dad, the two kids lined up, and a caption above the bloke saying, hi, it's Bill here. I love looking after your garden. It was actually from the husband and wife. We love looking after your gardens, and we hope you appreciate what you're doing. But then we got a problem. If you don't pay us on time, we can't feed our kids. And the kids are there looking forlorn, Look at them, they're forlorn. So please help us to keep doing a great job for you by paying your bills as quickly as you can. And straight away they got this enormous feedback from people. People writing checks, sorry. And we kind of brought it down to about 45 days. And so the next month I said, okay, let's do this again. This time we got their dog and a photo of the dog sitting beside an empty dog bowl. And a little caption from Fido saying, "God, blimey, if you don't pay your bill on time, Mike and Mary can't afford to feed me, and I'm going hungry." And we kept up this whole series. We had one where we were at a wreckers, and the whole family are in this wrecked car. It's going, hey, we love doing your lawns and stuff, but, we need to buy a new car so we can make sure we come. We had one with their mother-in-law tied to a tree, and it's the husband saying, listen, if you don't pay your bill on time, I can't get her out of here.
I love it.
And this whole thing. So they got the payments down to 7 days. Their biggest stress was all about what are we going to do next month? What are we going to do next month as a caption? So, and why? Because they had fun with it. They created connection. They made people feel they didn't do the pay your freaking bill on time, you dirty dog, blah, 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 which they could have. Instead, they made people feel a bit guilty about not paying, but in a nice way. And that to me is what this is. That's one example of getting paid quicker, create an emotional connection. And I look at those kind of things and say, wow, I think of everything you're doing in business is how do you make people feel? When you answer a phone, when you send out a bill, when you answer an email, when they go to your website, when they see your car driving by. I always remember seeing this car go by, which was for filtered water. And it was filthy, and the guy's dragging on the smoke, the window down, and it's the virtue of fresh, clean, filtered water. Yeah, right. And there's a smoke billowing out of the car, and this grungy guy, and you look at it and go, how does it make you feel? Like I'm not going to use them.
There's some great examples, mate. So this stuff, what I love about this type of marketing discussion is it doesn't cost a fortune to implement. There might be some ideas in there that you got to spend a bit of dough on, but really, this is just the learning here is, knowing that making people feel good about your business is a good thing. And even saying that sounds obvious, but actually really making it a point each day of asking yourself, what can you do in order to make people feel more positively predisposed? So I've got a question here, Griffo, that I want us to leave with our listeners so that they can kind of ponder it on an ongoing basis. Now, I haven't wordsmithed it to an inch of its life, so I'd like you to do that. But this is what I've got, mate. What things in the marketing of your business that you control can make prospects and customers feel positively predisposed towards your business? So what things can you do to make people feel good about your business?
Yeah, exactly.
It's in your website copy, it's in your customer service approach, it's in the experience that you offer someone the moment they come into contact with your business, to them doing business with you, to after they've done business with you, 2 weeks after the phone, a phone call. How's it going? You enjoying the product, or is there anything more we can do?
Who does that? And everyone should do that. Like you look at that and go, wow, how important is that? There's so many ways of doing that, yet it is rarely done because we look at it as transactional. It's done. The transaction is done. We forget about the feeling. And obviously the moral, and again, this is the obvious point, of course, is the better we make people feel. Well, there's different ways that we make people feel. It's not just about making people feel good. Sometimes it's about making people feel safe. Sometimes it's about making people feel secure. So it might be about making people feel tied in, like they united. They want to be a part of your business and support you, and all those things. There's lots of different feelings, but I think that if we just let them kind of happen randomly, whatever will be, that's exactly what you end up with, a random set of feelings. You don't actually get anything more substantial out of that. And that's why it's a great discussion to have, for everyone in business, say, how can I make my customers, my staff, how can I make everyone in my world, feel better towards what I do, who I am, all those types of things. A recorded message on a mobile phone. Most you can't understand them. There's leave a fantastic message. I've got a really upbeat, have a great day, I'm going to get back, like a bit over the top kind of message.
Yep.
Every single person that leaves a message for me says, I just love your message. I've got someone who rings just because they want to hear the message.
Just leave your number here now, mate. I'll just get everyone to, just so they can listen to it. Hey? Hey, now, Griffo, just speaking before we switch off, I do need to mention our beautiful sponsors in 99 Designs and Net Registry. I was going to do it a little bit earlier, but we got carried away. But that's okay, because I see these two guys, these two sponsors, as being businesses that can actually help you do exactly what we've just talked about. From 99 Designs' point of view, I tell you what, it's not just about words and the way you speak and around all that in your business, but 99 Designs can make your brand look beautiful, create more emotion around it. So, if you've got a design challenge in your business team, head over to 99designs.com/SBBM. You'll get a $99 upgrade, which will get 185% on average more designs sent to you through your design competition. And how important is great branding, Griffo? You love a good brand.
How does it make you feel?
Correct.
You look at
Correct.
I can't believe those people that have lousy branding.
Yep.
It's so important.
Yep. Correct.
Don't be such a tight ass. Get a decent brand.
Well, you can. You know what? You can be a tight ass and still use 99 Designs, because it's
got a lot cheaper, hasn't it?
Oh man, basically the contests that you run on 99 Designs are between a couple of $100 and $1,000 to $1,200 for amazing design of all aspects. So that's a good one. The other guys that can help you make people feel positively predisposed towards your business, a net registry with anything online, getting a good website. When someone arrives at the central hub of your online footprint, which is your website, make them feel good. Make them go, wow, absolutely. Love that. It's your virtual home, isn't it? Your virtual real estate.
And again, I don't think we think that way, though, do we? Someone's going to my website, what are they going to feel? Not what are they going to think? What are they going to feel?
Yes.
When they go there. I mean, I just did a big revamp of my site, and that was one of the things that was for me. That I spent months thinking, how do I want people to feel when they get there? And that's just such a wonderful way to kind of tie this all together again.
What a great question. How do you want people to feel? It's a question that lives on the creative brief of big advertising agencies. I know that for a fact, and it's a question that when you're briefing a designer on 99 Designs or briefing someone at Net Registry to get something done online, it's a question you want to provide an answer to. And you can answer that by using some adjectives, or find some references of other brands, of logos, of websites that you love, and say, I love this because it makes me feel a certain way. Can you replicate it in my business? It's a great question. How do you want people to feel having seen that ad, having watched your video, having met your staff, having been in your shop? Bloody ripper question, Griffo. Love that.
I ask that question when I'm doing speaking jobs. When I'm getting a brief from a client, I ask them, how would you like your audience to feel after they leave the room when my presentation's finished? And it's a wonderful way of also measuring expectations, because I can go back to them after the event and say, right, you wanted your audience to feel, your delegates to feel inspired and motivated. Is that how they felt when they left?
Great question. My question is, what does success look like after I finish speaking? But I'm about to change that. I'm about to change that question, if you don't mind. A little bit of plagiarism.
You go for it. You go for it, of course.
Hey, Griffo, I've loved it, mate. I've loved this topic. Goodness me, there's an entire podcast in it. There's an entire live event in it. There's an entire book in it. because it's not spoken about enough. We've scratched the surface. Listeners, I hope you've enjoyed what we've had to cover. Griffo, I've got a couple of just little bits and bobs to cover with my listeners, with our listeners. I'm going to leave you hanging, mate. You get back to that bag of lolly bananas. One of my favourite lollies, by the way, so well done on choosing that. And I'll leave you in the in the monkey's cage in the jungle to just kind of, mull over.
The mellow out?
Yeah, you can do that. You can
I'm the
mellow out.
wordsmith.
Love your work, Griffo.
Good to be here, mate. Thank you, my friend. Thanks, folks.
Listeners, I hope you enjoyed that. That was an episode of Funny Business, part of what we call here the Small Business Big Marketing Show, Australia's #1 marketing podcast. If you've got some feedback, if we made you feel a certain way, good, bad or indifferent, then head over to the show notes for episode 200 and... what would this be? I'm going to say this would probably be episode 200 and... He slowly goes to his website. It's about 220... Yeah, 5. Hey, what about that? I had to buy a bit of time there, but that would be a great thing to leave a comment in the show notes. Head over to iTunes, leave some feedback, or hit us up on Twitter. My Twitter's at Timbo Reid, R-E-I-D, and Griffo's is A-G Author, A-U-T-H-O-R. Hit him up. Go and tell him how he made you feel. He would love that. And he responds within generally 30 to 60 seconds. And listen, big show coming up. Future guests, really quite excited. Got a great mate, Keith Abraham, who's going to be talking passion and how to live it and how to identify your passion if you haven't already, and plenty more. Thanks 99 Designs. Thanks Net Registry for making this show possible. Until then, may your marketing be the best marketing, and bye for now.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.